Yes, how you doing? So we're back once again. It's time for an update. It's part 5 of the Project Bolt build. So there's quite a lot to update in this week's video, so I think what we'd do is we'd break it down into little chunks. I'll talk about it, give you a bit of an intro, and then we'll look at the photos. So first things first, as you'd have seen in last week's video, Mark painted the shell, done an absolutely fantastic job of it, looked really great, but we had a nasty surprise in store here. So if we rewind a few weeks, go back to I think the first video I'd done of the car, where I introduced Mark. I said he bought the shell, didn't know much about minis at the time, so what he didn't realise was the shell had overseals on it and it had some really bad welding on it. But on the face of it, the shell looked great. It had recently been painted and looked really good. Unfortunately, we found out a nasty surprise in this update that really probably explains why the person went to all the trouble to spray a shell, get it all looking nice, and then decided to sell it. So when Mark bought the shell, it came with the doors, the boot and the bonnet, but they weren't fitted to the car. They've been painted off the car. Like I say, in last week's update, Mark had painted the car, and with hindsight's a great thing. I'm sure you'll all watch this video and go, oh, didn't you fit the doors first to make sure they're alright? Well, you know, like I say, you live and you learn, don't you? Unfortunately, after Mark had painted the car, repainted the doors and everything like that, he come to fit the driver's door and it just did not fit. And by did not fit, I don't mean just adjusting it a little bit backwards and forwards, up and down, but it just clearly, it was like a square peg in a round hole. And looking into it a little bit further, it looked like the door skin had been reskinned off the car. They hadn't lined it up or anything. I think they'd probably bent the frame while they'd been doing the door skin as well. They'd fitted an A panel on the front. They'd fitted the A panel without lining the door up, and the hinge panel was bent as well. So when it come to fitting the door back on the car, there was just no way it was going to fit. So for once, Mark's quite a positive person, but I spoke to him after he found this out. I wasn't with him when he tried fitting the doors, and he was absolutely gutted. He'd just gone to all this hard work to paint the car. It was looking absolutely fantastic. And it was almost back to square one. Well, certainly 2 steps forward and 1 step back. So to resolve the issue, the door was scrap. We had to get a new door for it. Well, I say new door, second-hand door, do a bit of repair work on that door. It had to have the A panel replaced again on it, because they've put an A panel on. I think it's probably a non-genuine one, hadn't lined it up and just welded it in place without sort of checking. And the hinge panel was bent as well. So unfortunately, after Mark's great paint job, it looked absolutely fantastic. It was back to grinding, cutting, welding and respraying again. But Mark got back on it, got it sorted out in a few days, and we were back to square one with the shell. And so moving on, the next part of the build was fitting the roll cage in Project Bolt. So the roll cage come from the previous donor car, which was affectionately named Roger. So Roger is the picture of the race mini up on the wall there. And the only 2 bits that got donated from Roger were the engine. It was a Swift Tune engine in it, which had recently been rebuilt, so it was silly to sort of let that go. Straight cut gearbox with that as well, and it had safety devices, full roll cage in it. So that got swapped over. It's safety devices, front cage, rear cage, dash bar, rail, and the seatbelt harness in the back. And to be honest, that was pretty straightforward. Of all the bits we'd done on the car, roll cage was pretty easy to fit actually. mainly because the car's got no door bins in the back, so fitting the cage in was pretty straightforward, and of course it's all stripped down, so there's no seats or trim or anything like that inside there. The only little minor problem or little issue we had was the previous car, the donor car, Roger, had overseals on it. So the cage fitted fine in Project Bolt on the inside, but when we went to fit the brackets on the outside, the brackets had been made to go over the overseals. So we just had to get some strong sheet steel and make up some new brackets for the floor of the car. Next job on the list was fitting a carbon fibre roof. So you might have seen in one of my previous videos, actually, we fitted a carbon fibre roof on Vinny, which is seen here, and that's been done in a completely different way. So I'll stick a link down in the description, or maybe a card at the top, if you want to see the two ways of doing this. Vinny's carbon fibre roof is just basically just Sikaflexed on over the original roof skin, so it's really just there for looks and nothing else really, whereas Project Bolt, the whole idea of getting the carbon fibre roof for that was to make it as lightweight as possible, and there pretty much wasn't no option there. So in the first lot of photos you'll see we've laid the carbon fibre roof skin over the top. There was no way in the world that was going to go on and look right. So I was pretty fortunate with Vinny that we trial fitted it on there, and it you know, it wasn't quite fitting like a glove, but it fitted very, very nicely. With Project Bolt, you know, it just goes to prove no two minis are ever the same. Vinny and Project Bolt actually are about the same sort of age shells. They're both around sort of 93, 94. But the carbon fibre roof skin for Project Bolt, there was no way that was going to fit on without cutting the roof skin out. So the people that make the carbon fibre roof skin actually recommend you cut the roof out to get it to fit properly. So as you'll see in this, we left about, I guess, about a 3-inch lip the whole way around the roof. So we cut the middle completely out, and then the roof is bonded. The carbon fibre roof is then bonded onto that sort of 3-inch lip that's left around the outside of the shell. So again, you know, 2 steps forward, 1 step back here. We cut out all the way around, went to fit the carbon fibre roof, and it still wouldn't fit. Just the corners of the shell of Project Bolt, they were just really proud, really sticking up. I don't know whether maybe the roof skin was slightly different, but we had to manipulate the metal in each corner. So manipulate it, posh word for get a big hammer out and beat it into shape. And unfortunately with that, where we've gone round and we've tapped the metal, it's cracked the new paintwork that Mark's just done on the car, and it ended up making a bit of mess of that as well. So unfortunately again there, after having fitted the carbon fibre roof skin, we then had to go round and just do a few touch-up jobs just to get the paint back perfect again. And I'm glad to say, once we've got the roof skin on, that was it with paintwork. So thank God, no more damage, and we started rebuilding the car then. And just finally, and this next bit was probably my biggest bug bind. I really hated doing this bit on the car. So Mark went and bought an OBP pedal box. It was specifically made for a Mini. They're lightweight, they have a 6:1 ratio. It's got adjustable bias in it, so you can adjust the brake bias, and that works on a cable, so it's up on the dashboard and you can adjust front and rear brake bias as you're on the track, as you're driving around with the car, which is really useful. But the difficult bit is it doesn't come with any brackets to mount it on, so it comes with its own sort of bracket which the whole pedal box is mounted on, but there's no real instructions for how you mount that in a Mini. And just by design, the way it's made, the pedals are hinged from the top, so it naturally, when you push the brake, it wants to lever the front edge downwards. So I was quite conscious of this. The bracket made for it had to be nice and strong. You know, in an emergency, if you had to brake hard, you do not want that flexing, you do not want the bulkhead flexing, and you certainly don't want the brake pedal disappearing through the front floor. So I made the bracket up. It was made out of, I think it was 3 or 4 mil sheet steel. It's very solid, very robust. I wanted to make sure there were as many mounting points as possible. So it used the existing 4 mountings at the back where the original brake and clutch reservoirs, master cylinders would have been. It bolts at the front onto the dash rail with 2 bolts, and we also made, I don't think it's in the pictures as well actually, but there's also a bracket which goes from the top of the pedal box up onto the bulkhead to one of the existing mounts, which is where the brake servo would have been on the Mini. Got there eventually with it, took quite a lot of fabrication. Like I say, there was nothing to go on, couldn't find any pictures of how anyone had done this before, so hopefully this might serve as a useful video to someone if they've got an OBP pedal box, they're wondering how you fit it in the Mini. This was the way I done it anyway, so really hope that helps someone. Like I say, now it's done, you know, it's great. Pedals are fantastic, they're exactly the right height, they give really nice pedal feel, and they're perfectly spaced. But I'd say all told, that probably took me about 6 to 8 hours of fabrication to get that right. So everyone, thanks for watching. Really hope you liked the video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. If you want to ask any questions, please leave them down in the comments and I'll get back to you. If you're a returning subscriber, then thank you very much. If you've not subscribed already, please do subscribe. I upload on a weekly basis and things are starting to get exciting with project builds now. So in the next update, it's all about we're bolting on the shiny bits, the bits that look nice, and it really starts to get to the satisfying part of the build where you've done all the hard messy work, and now it's just bolting on the shiny bits, the bright work, all the exciting stuff really. But we're getting close now. We're close to the first track day in the car.